So in the studio with us today is Jason Gray. Jason, you are the what?
I am the business manager for IUEC Local 32 in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right. And seated next to you is Matt Stell. And you are?
I'm the business representative for Local 32.
All right. So you are two people who know the ins and outs, both of the trade and your union. All right. So let's start right away with this. You are the Union of Elevator Constructors, and we asked you in the hall or in the lobby when we started, when did your union begin? And we have, one of the things we have found that's so interesting, all the construction trades that we have had now in the last 7-8 months have early roots in the labor movement in the first years of workers organizing. So tell us the story of how the Elevator Constructors Union formed.
Okay, so the International Union of Elevator Constructors, which is the entire elevator constructor trade, is more than just Local 32 in Atlanta. We have locals in Canada, United States, and Puerto Rico. So they were formed in 1901 to come together, and that's when they were started. The Local 32 Union came about in 1910, so both have been around for over 100 years.
You all don't look that old.
No, I feel that old sometimes, but thank you.
All right, so so you can really forgive me. So when did an elevator first get manufactured?
Elevators.
Figured out.
Elevators have been around since the 1800s. The biggest myth out there is that elevators were invented by Otis Elevator. That's not necessarily true. Otis Elevator merely made them very safe. In the early days, elevators were extremely dangerous. They were used to move heavy freight. A lot of times they were either man-powered or animal-powered. There weren't any safety factors on the elevators. So in the late 1800s, 1900s, Elijah Otis came up with an elevator safety system, which made it very safe for people to get on elevators and expand the height of the elevators. They started out relatively low. You couldn't go more than a couple stories, but with the implementation of his safeties, you're now able to go, and granted in the early 1900s 10 stories was quite high, but with those safety features that he invented, elevators now became more accessible to the general public.
Right, 100 stories.
Nowadays, yes, not at all uncommon to see 100 stories.
So what are some of those safety features that made it possible to go that high?
Well, there's underneath the elevators there's a safety mechanism which is if the elevator overspeeds in a down direction, it trips a centrifugal governor in the machine room, usually at the top of the hoistway, and that brings the elevator to a stop, keep it from piling down in the pit.
Yeah, unlike the movies, people see the movies and think elevators can just drop and fall. That is a very unlikely event. Elevators are some of the safest public transportation because we are public transportation. Elevators move more people on a daily basis than cars do. If you look at downtown Atlanta,
I never thought about it.
It is public transportation, and we do have to make sure the public is safe. So, according to the movies, elevators can drop and fall. That's not true. They may sometimes go faster than you wish them to, but I don't know if there's ever been an instance where an elevator is actually free falling like you would see in the movies. That just doesn't happen.
Can you talk about the mechanics of how an elevator works? I know there must be cables and a motor, but beyond that, I don't.
There are a couple of different styles. There's a hydraulic elevator, which these days works with oil. Back in the early 1900s, they had water, pumped in from the public water system. Now the high-rise, anything typically over 8 floors is typically traction, which we refer to as cables. Cables we refer to as traction. And there's a counterweight system, which the cab, where everybody rides, all the passengers, and the cables go from the cab up over the machine, which is the motor, down to counterweights, which counterweights actually weigh more than the cab. So if there was a free fall situation, more than likely the elevator would actually go up because the counterweights weigh more.
Yes. And then, of course, you have the hydraulic elevator, like Matt mentioned. And those are typically the smaller 2-story, 3. Now, they can go up to 8 stories, but those are basically, everyone knows what a hydraulic pump for your car is.
Power steering.
You pump the handle and the oil pressurizes the cylinder and it goes up. Same thing with an elevator, except you've got a much bigger motor, much bigger piston and cylinder. But you turn the motor on, turn the pump on, pump goes into the piston raises the elevator.
Well, how about that? And Otis was the genius that helped figure it out. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. All right, so when you are a person who's interested in having this kind of a job, what are the kind of skills or that you either should have or will have in order to be able to both install and fix an elevator?
Well, when most elevator mechanics get in the trade, unless you have a relative that's already in the trade or know someone, nobody ever thinks about repairing or working with elevators. They just work,
Magic box.
Yeah. Nobody thinks about
Except when they're out.
Correct. That's what I was going to get at. Yeah, unless you have the unfortunate, experience to have to walk stairs every day. Anyway, so a basic mechanical skills, basic aptitude, just working on your car at home, or our trade actually encompasses a lot of the other building trades. With electrical work, even iron working, just all kinds of aspects of the construction trade.
We call ourselves the jack of all trades because we will do electrical because the elevators are electric. We'll do plumbing. Sometimes the oil lines have to be plumbed. Welding, we'll have to weld beams in place, machines in place. Some light carpentry at times. Then the electrical aspect, there's a lot of computer-based elevator functions now that in the past weren't as prevalent, but nowadays you need to be able to work with computer, math skills. So you really need to be an all-around guru, as we say, to work on an elevator.
Wow.
So how does construction work? Let's say with a new building. How do you coordinate with other crafts about when an elevator in what stage in the process does an elevator get installed?
That'll vary between whether it's a high-rise or maybe a residential. Typically for the high-rise, you would like to say, the building needs to be as tall as it's going to be, because the elevator rides in the shaft, which is the centralized, basically hoistway of the building. So we would like for that to be complete, but a lot of times we can't do that because then we'd be very far behind the other trades. So we'll get to a point where we can start our work. We do need power. We have to have power to run the elevator, so we'd like to get in there when the building's typically a high-rise building, maybe halfway. If it's a lower building, apartment complex, we can come in towards the end when it's built and the hoistways are done. But we will need power. We'll need the building to be dry. Elevators don't like to get wet. There's a lot of electrical components in there, so we'd like to top on the building if we can, but we need to come in when there's power and a hoistway to work.
Okay, so back to this question of how many members are there in your local 132?
Right now, Local 32, we have...
One.
32.
32.
32, yeah, we're Local 32. Right now, Local 32 has approximately 520 members. We have roughly 600 people working, and that difference would be the ones that aren't members are new to the trade. So we do have a requirement. You have to wait approximately a year before you become a member.
Oh.
So yeah, this trade isn't for everyone, and some people think they're going to like work on elevators, think they're going to love it, but then they get in that hoistway where they're a couple hundred foot above the ground in this square box, and they don't like it. So a lot of times people don't always stay with the trade. So we do put a requirement where work with us for a year, make the decision that you like what you do and you want to hang around, then you join the local.
All right, well, that always brings us to the point of what are the benefits that being in a unionized job over a non-unionized job. And this is because we're assuming that there are elevator constructors who are not in a union.
Correct.
And so we ask every construction trade that's been on the program, be exact. What are the benefits?
For us, I would say the benefits are our health care, our wages, our education, and our safety. Those four main things right there is what put us above, we think, all the other non-union companies out there. As far as wages go, we offer some of the highest wages in the construction trades. We bring you in and you start out making a very good wage, and as you progress through our educational system, that wage goes up every year. By the time you're finished, we are, like I said, one of the top earners when it comes to wages.
Can you tell us what that is?
Sure, we start our people out at $20.68 is what we call a 50%er. So you're making 50% of what a mechanic makes. Every year you complete a school, that wage goes up. I don't have the exact numbers, but a couple dollars every year it goes up until you finish the program, which is a 4-year program. You finish the program and you take the test, become a licensed elevator mechanic, and then you are making roughly $42 and some change.
Well, I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
And I'm sure our listeners like the sound
They
of
do.
that.
Of course they do.
And you can still progress above that. If you've got the aptitude to where you can be one of those what we call adjusters or mechanics in charge, then it's roughly $45 and some change. So.
But now let's talk about the sort of more of the intangibles, which is safety, and maybe some of the other benefits. Because some of those are sometimes more important actually even than the dollars.
Right. We think that safety's a value is even better than the wages, because no matter how much you make, you want to go home to your family. So we put safety as the forefront of what we do. We have a great safety program between the international and the companies we work with. We team with them and make sure they have the proper safety protocols, they have safety standards, and we back them 100% with those safety standards. If they think it's a good practice and we think it's a good practice, we're all behind it. We want you to go home every day. We want you to be safe, because if you're not safe and you can't work, you're not putting an elevator in. You can't put the elevator in, you can't do your job. And we all want everybody to go home and make that retirement that we have and be safe and make it to your family every day.
Well, let me ask you a question. What is the most common injury that a person would have? A fall?
Unfortunately for us, falls and what we call caught-betweens are very prevalent. Since we do work in buildings where you're up at heights quite a bit, falls and the lack of having your fall protection on are what get us. But a lot of times for elevators, there are a lot of moving parts in an elevator. The public sees the doors open, they get in, the door closes, the door opens again, and you're up in the building somewhere. For us, we see the inner workings, and that is, like Matt said earlier, you got machines and ropes and cables, and they're all very heavy. They're designed to pick up heavy loads, and things that get in their way don't matter. So if something happens, forbid, someone gets in between something, unfortunately the elevator doesn't stop for a person. So we have quite a few times where our members and our guys are caught in between things and either crushed or hurt in that way. So that's, for us, that's one of the most dangerous things, is getting in between something that's not going to stop.
Okay. Well, so what are the safety protocols that the workers are encouraged, obviously to do, that prevent that happening?
For us,
Is it the cooperation between this worker and that worker, or what is it? How do you ameliorate it? How do you prevent it?
our ability to make our guys understand you have to follow the safety procedure. When I came in and when Matt came in 25 years ago, safety really wasn't on the forefront. So a lot of times it's been ingrained, just get the job done, you're not worried about safety. Nowadays we say, no, we ingrain it, we train them, and we reiterate every day, you have to be safe, because it only takes a fraction of a second for something to happen that you cannot stop or you cannot change. So we are constantly, when we have class in school, we ingrain safety. When we see them at our meetings, we ingrain safety. When we go out to the jobs and talk to them, are you being safe? Are you following safety protocol? So we really do try and embed that, ingrain that into every time we see them. You got to be safe.
And most of the companies have a fatality prevention process, which are basically rules that you follow for almost every foreseeable danger you come in contact with, whether it's troubleshooting, live electrical work. If you're climbing up high off the ground, you want to be tied off in a harness and a lanyard. Of course, wear your PPE, your hard hat, safety gloves, boots, stuff like that.
So for folks, what does PPE mean?
Personal protective equipment.
That's right, your personal protective equipment. We had that at GM. Okay.
The schools, you said upon completion of schools, as you move up, can you explain what those are?
Sure. So when you first enter the trade, you are considered a probationary. That means you'll do some online classes to get you familiar with our safety policies, how to be safe around an elevator, and general safety topics. After that, you will be enrolled in school. Our school is like I said, 4-year program, so 2 semesters a year. Kind of follows the guidelines of regular school. You're like your kids at home. So you'll go to school 1 night a week for 4 hours. Okay, and as you progress through that, it's roughly 144 hours a year for accumulation of the time until you're ready. So we come in, you start out with the basics, and we'll teach you safety again. We do it almost twice. So after your probationary phase, your first year, you'll cover a lot of safety. Second year, we start getting into some of the basics of how an elevator is built. So then we give you the groundwork of how you would install the elevator. And then they'll go on to more advanced topics like the electrical aspect, motors, generators, solid state, things of that nature. And it just progresses throughout the entire program until you get to the end, and by then you should have the background and the basics to go out there and tackle any elevator and not know the specifics, but know the basics of how it might work. We're not teaching you anything, we're not teaching you a Ferrari or anything like that, but we're teaching you the basics.
So is there on-the-job training and classroom at the same time?
Yes, we are kind of unique in the fact that we don't put people through the program who aren't working in the trade. So if you don't work for us in the union, then you don't go through our apprenticeship program. So you got to be working, and you get that on-the-job training and that school training at the same time.
All right, so in other words, 1 night a week you're in a classroom situation, but during the day you're on a job helping somebody who's already a journey person or a skill has already completed.
That's correct. You'll be assigned with a mechanic. If you're an apprentice, you're really not able to go out and work on your own. You have to work with someone, and that will be your mechanic. That will be the journeyman you're working with, and you stay with him until you're done with the program.
Okay, so now we've asked this question again of just every union that's walked through the door for this program, and there's a couple of them. We ask about people who have records. Are they able to join this apprenticeship program? And we have asked, how is it that you're recruiting people who have historically have not had a job in this trade, people of color, women, etc. So those are the 2 questions we've asked every union, and now it's your turn.
Yes, the aspect of a record for us from the international, the union side, we're not worried about your past. We're worried about your future. What are you going to do now? So we don't hold that against anyone. Now sometimes our companies, we do work in every type of building imaginable. We'll be in office buildings, retail. We'll be in some government buildings. So occasionally there'll be a time where someone is asked, hey, can you go in this building here? That's the company side of it. If the company needs you to go somewhere where you can't go, we'll find you somewhere else to go. So the record portion, that doesn't bother us. No. We have had in the past where that's come up, and no problem whatsoever.
Second question.
Recruitment.
Recruitment. Okay, so recruitment. We are again kind of unique in our trade where we do not have what they consider an open enrollment. Our enrollment is closed. It happens roughly every 2 years. So we will open our enrollment up. You'll get online, fill the application out, and then we'll schedule an aptitude test. General aptitude test, and everybody always asks, what's on the aptitude test? It's not elevator related. It's just a general mechanical aptitude test. Do you know basic math? Can you read a tape measure? General mechanical, reading comprehension, things like that. Nothing extraordinary. So we come in. If you can pass that, we'll then set up an interview. We bring everyone in that made it through that portion, interview you, and once you're interviewed, you're ranked and rated based on your skills and how you did in the interview, and you're put on the list. And that list starts at number 1 and goes to however many people we had. So as the companies need manpower, they'll call us, and we start at number 1.
Person.
Yes, and then we go down from there. If by some chance we happen to clear that list out before the 2-year period is up, we'll do it again. So.
All right. So the truth of the matter is that everyone that we've had on the program, the building trades, the construction trades have historically been a job that, in terms of at least unionized labor, is mostly been male. In history and in life, women build lots of things and construct lots of things, but they have not always had the opportunity to get into particularly trades and then union trades. So how is it, or are there women that are in your program, and how is it that you would, is there any accommodation that has to be made? Because one of the things, of course, is the ability to, I suppose, lift heavy things.
Oh, yes.
And I was at General Motors, and I had a job that defied most men. I had to lift a lot of heavy stuff. And so it was, I guess it was not expected that I would be able to do it, but I absolutely could do it. So I'm just going to ask, you know, how that works out, because this is both an image issue that unions in the construction trades have, and then it is a real issue for a woman out there who thinks, wow, $40-some an hour and all these other things, this would lift me and my family out of not just poverty, but it would be great. And I'm great in math, and I really, so, but what am I going to have to go through to get this position?
Currently, we have no women in the area, but international-wise, we have a lot of women in our trade. They are very successful. We have found in the past that when it comes to women in the trade, they do great. There are many women out there who are successfully running routes on their own. They're in repair. There are women in construction too. So we do not try and eliminate women or try not get them in the trade. They're more than we encourage them to come and try. So once they get in, a lot of times the companies will see that attention to detail that they have, and that drive they have, and they are known for. Not everyone fits into every little area, so they will find a place for them. And we found in the past where get someone in, a female comes in and she does good, she comes to work, she's motivated. They're going to put her somewhere where she will succeed. So we do accommodate that.
Okay. All right, so all you sisters out there,
give us a call.
give them a call. Be this groundbreaker person in Local 32, and be part of this skilled trade. All right, so another question that we famously ask everybody is, if I get in an elevator, in what building did y'all put the elevator in, so that I can say to the people in the elevator,
This is a union elevator.
this is a union, I know who did this.
I would say the majority of the high-rise buildings in downtown are union elevators. As far as constructing, yeah, definitely the bigger, the real nice buildings, you know, Class A. Anything downtown, I would say, with any kind of rise to it. That's a union
Okay,
elevator.
so all the hotels.
Yep, the
yeah.
Marriott Marquis, the Hilton, you know, everything.
Okay, all
let's
those,
see.
the ones that go zoom all the way up
The
the
Westin,
The
Westin, Peachtree Plaza.
Peachtree Plaza.
Yeah, anything like that, that's installed and maintained by union elevator guys.
All right, and then all the big bank buildings and
Bank
office
of America,
buildings.
yes.
Okay, what about hospitals?
City Hall, Grady.
Grady
yeah,
Hospital.
The
St. Joe's Hospital,
Northside.
Cobb, all
Yeah,
those.
everything.
Luckily for us, we have had a very high market share for a long time. So it's safe to say that 95% of the elevators out there were put in by union. That's not typical everywhere, but for us, we've been very fortunate to hold that market share and keep a hold of that market share. And we're trying to keep a hold of it as much as we can. So pretty much, if you walk into a building that's over 10 stories, a union man put it in. Or one.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm really glad to hear that, because I believe in unions. So.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm still not clear about exactly is you work for the elevator company, not the building management.
Correct. If you're an IUEC member, you work for one of our major signatory companies. We have a handful here in Atlanta, and what we do is we provide the manpower for them, and then the company themselves will contract through the building if the building needs someone to come out and do the work. So yeah, you work for individual companies here in Atlanta.
All right, so let's talk about how these contracts are negotiated then. So, you know, we were with, our contract was, well, in my case, it was a national contract, covered all UAW members, and then there was a local contract with the plant I was in. So how does this work with these multiple companies that actually are the ones who hire the union members?
How many are there? Yeah.
company-wise. In Atlanta, we have 5 major companies and a couple independents. Nationwide, a couple thousand union companies. So we do have a national contract with the majors and the independents. All our majors, the top majors, Otis, Tyson-Kone, Schindler, Fujitech, Bagby, those guys are large, and we have a national contract. It covers all 30,000 members of the United States. And then also the smaller independents, they jump on board with that, and they follow that contract also. So,
Okay,
so
so
it
in
is
other
one
words-
national contract.
Okay, so in other words, the smaller companies just accede and
Yes.
take that national
Yes.
contract as
Yeah, they jump on
They
board.
follow
because-
us.
Correct.
All right, so how long, the UAW is looking at a 4-year contract, and what are you looking at?
5 years.
Yours
We
is
do 5-year contracts.
Okay.
And is your pension national too?
Yes. Yep. We are have a national-wide pension.
And how do things like vacation work and sick pay?
Vacation, when someone starts, anyone under 5 years will make 6% of whatever they earn throughout the year. So the more you work, the more you earn. So it's percentage based on vacation. After 5 years, that percentage goes up to 8. So roughly, someone new is going to get 2.5, maybe 3 weeks a year. Someone who's been around for over 5 years, you're looking at a month, 4 weeks.
Oh.
4 weeks of vacation.
Why did I become an auto worker? I should have been your first woman elevator worker.
So who do you work for on the job? I'm thinking about a
You work for-
grievance.
you work for a
In
company.
terms of a grievance, I mean, if there's a problem on the job,
It's the company, it's one of the major companies. So all of our members work for one of the 5 majors or small independent.
so they have people on the scene.
Yes, yes.
And if there's do you have a grievance procedure
Oh,
if
yes.
something happens?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
No
Go
doubt.
ahead and explain, because many of our listeners aren't familiar with a grievance procedure.
Okay, so since we have a negotiated contract with each company, we request that they follow that contract. So if there's something that happens on the job where one of our members who works for one of the signatory companies is told, well, we need you to do it this way, and the contract says, no, you don't do that, well, then that member, again, he'll call me, and he'll tell me, hey, my company's telling me I need to do this, or I need to put this in, and it's against the contract. At that point, that's when me and Matt, that's when we step in. We're the representatives, so we'll reach out and tell the company, hey, that's not what's in the book, that's not how it works, and if the member has lost wages or lost monetary, that way, we step in and say, you've now got to fix that. And if not, well, we all have a sit down and work it out.
So Matt, can you explain what a difference it has made to your family to have a union job?
Well, my dad was a part of a union at Lockheed, so I kind of grew up in a union family. You know, it always provided us with everything I needed growing up, and you know, me and 2 brothers and a sister, and you know, we weren't rich by any means, but we lived comfortably, had everything we needed. That's you know, always had good insurance. Never had to worry about you know, skipping dental appointments and stuff like that. So just always just comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer the same question?
Sure. For me, my father didn't work in the elevator trade as a union until after I got in. So we didn't, you know, he was a 9-to-5 guy for a business and had been there 20 years. And I think the key thing here was after about 25 years of work, he developed an illness and was hospitalized. Well, shortly after he got better, he was notified that his insurance had been maxed out for his lifetime. So he, in essence, didn't have insurance.
Wow.
So that's when he came over to the elevator trade and got our union benefits. But growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. We kind of we made ends meet and things like that. And now, me from where I'm at, when I got out of the military and got this union job, my children have always had everything they needed. We've done very well. Been able to provide for them. Never had an insurance problem, and I think it's the way to go.
Absolutely. No disagreement here.
That's right. So both Paul and I are, you know, have our union pensions and have our union insurance, and on the job, you know, again, I was in auto, and there was a lot of resistance to having women. You know, there were men who said, oh, what are these women doing taking our jobs, like they had some proprietary right to them. And they always implied that somehow we got the easy jobs, which was, again, a fallacy, because it was, lots of times the company didn't want us there either. So for the last 10 years of my life at General Motors, I put the driver door window in minivans. And I bought one of those minivans, and my window worked even when the engine stopped. And so I want to say that I think, when I left, women workers were 40%, maybe even more, of the workforce. And so I think that that's one of the things that I understand from Randy when he proposed this program, was that he wanted really to make sure that the listeners of WRFG, which are very diverse in this city, understand that there could be a place for you in a union workplace and a union craft. And that in particular the construction trades are ones that would really offer you and your family a big boost up. And so I want to encourage folks, if you'll right now just say what that online address is or what the telephone number is, because we're almost out of time, and we want people to know how they can get in to being an elevator engineer.
Our information can be found at www.iueclocal32.org. There's educational tab or apprenticeship tabs on there. They can click that and find everything they need.
Super. Well, thank you so much, Matt and Jason. I found this really interesting.
Is there a phone number?
Is there a phone number?
Our office phone number is 404-368. Who uses phones nowadays?
It's on the website, y'all.
It's on the website.
Phone number
You
is
can
on
reach
the
us at
website.
404-378-6208.
Okay.
There we go.
Can we get the website?
I had to think about it.
The website one more time is www.iueclocal32.org.
All right, thank you again, both of you, so much. And so, of course, listeners, you can share this. We'll have the video and the audio up on the Labor Forum website within a couple of days. And all the other construction trades interviews are there as well. So you can hear about all of them. And we have, I think, about 6 or so more to go. And we really thank the council for making sure that we have these great guests, these wonderful workers on the program here at the Labor Forum.
And learn about how the city works.
And and appreciate everywhere you go that it was built by union workers. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much. We'll be back again next Monday. You know we will. Until then.